Hey everyone, Legend Lewis back here for a new video, and today I am going to go through my top 10 movies of 2024. And to be completely honest, comparing 2024 to 2023, I think this year was a lot better. And I felt like 2023, it just didn't have, it had appeal, but just not much. I'll be honest, and it didn't really help with all the strikes that were going on and whatnot, but 2024 I felt was a big improvement. And yeah, just looking at all the movies that I watched, I think altogether, and including streaming, I watched probably 34 movies in 2023. And I think one, two, I think only 3 of the movies on my list, or at least that I watched on streaming. Yeah, only 3. Wow. But yeah, I think we should just get on with the list, I'll be honest. Yeah. Okay, and this is just my opinion. Obviously, we have our own at the end of the day, but yeah, this is just my opinion. And I do want to say, some movies that I watched first, say when I reviewed a certain movie, say I gave it an 8.5 out of 10, because I rewatched all the movies to prepare for this list, and most of the ratings have changed. Alright, so they've either gone from, say, an 8.5 to a solid 8, or from an 8.5 to a 9, or even a 10 out of 10 to a 9.5. So yeah, this is just my opinion and based off of rewatches I've done. So yeah, alright. Number 10, Fly Me to the Moon. Out of all the movies that I watched this year, I think this is the one that I've been most invested in. I've never been so intrigued and invested in a movie. And I think out of all the movies I watched this year, this is also the most unexpected release that I watched, because when I watched this movie, I thought it just came out on that day, but no, turns out I watched an early screening and I didn't even know until after the movie. So I think that was a benefit for this movie. Scarlett Johansson and Channing Tatum, they were both great together. Hopefully we get more movies with both of them. Don't know in what, but hopefully we do get more. And I will say, this might actually be my favourite Apple TV Plus movie. I think. Actually, no. My favourite one that they've released is Wolf Walkers, and that came out in 2020. Yeah. This would easily be number 2, Fly Me to the Moon. But yeah, obviously it's about the moon landing and how it happened and how it could have happened. But yeah, this was just such an amazing movie, I'll be honest. And I am shocked that this only got mixed reviews, I think. And it didn't even do well at the box office. But it didn't help because it was released in the summer. So I think if it was released, say, August, it probably would have done better. I can't remember when this was released, but if it wasn't released in August, I feel like it would have done better. Yeah. Number 9, The Boy and the Heron. I really wished I watched this in the cinema, because I absolutely love Studio Ghibli. Anime isn't exactly my go-to genre of movies, but Studio Ghibli, there's just something about them. And this is top tier Studio Ghibli. Hayao Miyazaki once again delivered an outstanding animated feature. So glad that this won Best Animated Feature at like everything. I don't think there really was like one award show that it didn't win, like the big main awards, but yeah, I'm just so glad this movie won. Um, had it have come out last year, it probably would have been in my top 5 or top 3. Um, but here in the UK, it came out in 2024, and there really was a lot more stuff that came out that I feel was better. And I think the main criticism I have with this movie is that it was a bit long, and I felt like it did drag on just a little bit towards the end. So if it was like maybe 15-20 minutes shorter, it probably would have been a bit better, I will admit. But honestly, this is just top tier Studio Ghibli. Right. Number 8, Civil War. How has this movie not been getting nominations? I remember when this first came out, people were saying like, "Oh, I can smell an Oscar coming this movie's way. I can tell this movie's got Oscar buzz written all over it." Like, and so far it's just not been getting anything. And like, I think the best chance this movie has a nomination for would have been Kirsten Dunst for Best Actress in a leading role, because she absolutely killed it in this role. I have not watched her in much, which is a bit surprising, but I absolutely loved her in this movie. I watched it again the other night. My opinions didn't change, surprisingly, but I'm just so confused. How has this not been getting nominations? Like, seriously, if this doesn't get a single Oscar nomination, I'm done. Sorry, I'm done. Like, seriously, how has this not been getting nominations? Like, the directing on this, like, the sort of action scenes were more intense, if you will. Like, they were all great. And, like, this is a really, like, emotional movie. And I think this might have actually been, like, the second A24 movie that I watched in the cinema. I think the first one I watched was Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, which came out last year. I really wished I watched Everything Everywhere All at Once at the cinema, but I'm just so glad that I at least watched Civil War, because this is also like a real like depiction of what might happen in the future. Not that it will, but like just what could happen. And it really does make you think. Like, if the people running the world right now are like gonna do what they want to do, then like I think this movie pretty much was like a wake up call for what could happen. But again, it's not gonna happen, let's face it. Yeah. Number 7, Inside Out 2, the biggest movie of the year. And I don't think anyone expected this movie to be as good as it was, or even to make as much as it did. This is the biggest animated movie of all time. It made, I believe, $1.6 billion worldwide. And I think it is safe to say I don't think any animated movie is gonna reach that status for probably a good couple of years now. I really think the only animated movie that could like get close to it is Shrek 5, and that comes out next year, 2026. I don't think it comes out this year. No, it doesn't. But yeah, Inside Out 2 just hit so hard. This was too personal. Like, this just hit so hard. Like, everything that Riley goes through, we've all gone through in life. And this movie really is like the best depiction of the struggles that every teenager goes through in their life. Like, really, I can't think of another movie that's really done this so well. And to think Pixar only announced this movie a year before it came out, like, really does say a lot. Like, and I really do think we can have another Inside Out movie. Like, we did just get Dream Productions, the Disney Plus miniseries, and it's an in-betweequel. Like, it's set in between Inside Out and Inside Out 2. So, yeah, that just goes to show that we can have more Inside Out based projects that work. And I want a third movie. I want a third movie. Originally I gave this a 10 out of 10, but after rewatching it a few times, it has gone down to a 9. I think the only issue I had with this movie was probably the parents. Like, they were only in it for a couple of scenes, and like, did we really need them in this movie? I mean, yeah, obviously they're the parents of Riley, but I just don't think they were really that significant to the plot, really. But other than that, this movie was amazing. Will this win Best Animated Feature? Probably not. There are way better ones, or at least ones that I think that are better than this one, which I will get to in a bit. But this is easily top tier Pixar. Like, literally, this is. Number 6, Dune Part 2. The loudest movie I have ever watched in the cinema. Oh my god. Like, the cinema that I go to, View, like, they don't have, like, those special chairs that make you, like, move and whatnot and, like, stray you and whatnot. Like, the way that it was so loud was just from the speakers. Like, it just made the whole room, like, just shake. Like, and I was getting a bit nervous, I'll be honest. But, honestly, like, Dune Part 2 really was an event. And I don't know when the next movie is coming out. I think it's 2026 or 2027. It's not coming out this year, no. So I think within the next 2 years it should come out. But Dune Part 2, this was just amazing. The visual effects, oh my god. This is gonna win. This is gonna win Best Visual Effects, hands down. Like, oh, this was just such a feast for the eyes. I wish I watched this in 3D because it just looked so good. The action in this movie was just so intense. Like, there were scenes that were done in black and white, and I was just amazed. Like, and I was just in awe with those scenes. I don't think there really was like a standout from this movie, but this was just such an event. And the Golden Globes just announced nominations like a couple of weeks ago, and yes, Dune Part 2 did get nominated, but it was a bit confusing with one, because they recently introduced cinematic and box office achievement, and yet Dune Part 2 didn't get nominated, and that made like nearly $800 million worldwide. Yet it didn't get nominated. And I'm like, why not? But yeah, this was like well worth I think it was like 2.5 hours, if I'm right. And like, I can't believe this came out like when? March last year, I think. Like, yeah, it's just so fascinating to think that it's been like nearly a year since Dune Part 2 came out. And again, I just want the third one right now. Right. Number 5, and this is the most recent and also the last review, like movie review that I did last year. And I am of course talking about Wallace and Gromit: Vengeance Most Foul. Oh, this was just so much better than Chicken Run Dawn the Nugget, let me tell you. Um, who doesn't love Wallace and Gromit? Like, be serious. Who doesn't love Wallace and Gromit? Um, I think today, the movie comes out on Netflix in the US and everywhere else, but here in the UK, we have it on BBC iPlayer, and it came out on Christmas Day on BBC. And wow, this is easily one of Aardman's best works that they have done. Um, it's great to see this movie is getting nominations left, right, and centre for Best Animated Feature. Will it win? I think it does have a good chance, but I do not think it's going to win. But everything about this movie was just so good. Wallace and Gromit themselves, they were just so adorable. Wallace's new voice actor, he smashed it, like literally. I believe he had been working with Aardman for quite some time now, and to see him like go from like someone who worked behind the scenes, I believe, to someone who is now like the voice of Wallace after the original actor Peter Sallis died in 2017. But Wallace and Gromit Vengeance Most Foul was just such a delight. The animation, incredible. The story was amazing. The return of Feathers McGraw. There really wasn't like a better villain this year than Feathers McGraw. The best villain in 2024 was a penguin, literally like this size. The best villain was a literal penguin. But no, easily top tier Aardman. And there really wasn't anything else that really could have stopped this movie from being bad. I felt like this was the right length. And it just goes to show that we can have more Wallace and Gromit projects. But I believe this is the last project that Aardman is going to do, or at least will have done in this sort of style of stop motion, because I believe the factory that made the stop motion clay that Aardman has been using for like years, even decades, they closed, and Aardman bought the remainder clay that they had, and I believe they just had enough to make one more Wallace and Gromit project. Literally everything they bought, they put into Wallace and Gromit, and I'm just so glad they did. What will their new clay style look like? It remains to be seen, but I'm sure they will find a way to make it work. Number 4, Wicked. And I think this might be the best musical that I have watched ever. This was just like, this had no right being this good. I know people who haven't watched Wicked yet, the movie, and I'm just begging for them to go watch it. It has been just under 2 months, so I believe the movie is coming towards the end of its run in cinemas. So I am gonna try and catch it one more time. Hopefully within the next like few weeks, if it's still showing. But then again, the movie is like nearly 3 hours. But no. Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande absolutely killed it in the role of Elphaba and Glinda. They both smashed it. They are both getting nominations, and I believe that they both deserve all the nominations. Oscars, probably. Fingers crossed. But the soundtrack for this movie was just amazing. Best song, easily Defying Gravity. Like, literally, you cannot think of a better song from this movie than Defying Gravity. The visual effects were really good. This isn't a perfect movie. I think, based off of memory, like, the only thing that I don't think I enjoyed from this movie probably was like the amount of screen time some of the characters had. I felt like they deserved a bit more, but Wicked for Good, originally Wicked Part 2, is coming out this November, and I want it right now. I'm just counting down the days till it comes out. I cannot wait. But, oh, Wicked. Just go watch it. Like, or at the very least, buy it on, like, Apple TV or Prime Video or something like that. Just buy it. Because I believe now it's on, like, streaming. Not a streaming service, but, like, available to purchase. At the very least, do that if you cannot be bothered to go to the cinema. But yeah, this was just such an amazing movie. I love it so much. Right. Number 3, Deadpool and Wolverine. The MCU has not died. Alright, you can all shut up. Like, the MCU has not died. Alright? The quality has not died down. Alright? Stop being like, whenever they release one project, stop being like, oh, we're so back. Oh, let's go. And then the next project they'll release, you'll be like, oh, we're so done. We are so dead. Oh, there's no going back. And then the next project will be like, oh, we're so back. Like, shut up. Just shut up. But Deadpool and Wolverine, easily one of the best projects they've done in the multiverse saga. But I will admit, I feel like Marvel has forgotten a bit about this saga, because each year we're only getting I know this year they're releasing 9 projects altogether in the MCU, and only 3 of them are within the multiverse saga, like have multiverse elements. 2 of them are Disney Plus projects, and then the other one is a movie. But I just don't get it. If we're in the multiverse saga, why isn't everything connected, like within the multiverse? Like, some of the recent projects, like, even though they have been amazing, like, for example, Agatha All Along, like, there wasn't really anything multiversal about that. Really. But, Deadpool and Wolverine, easily one of the best multiversal projects that Marvel has done. Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, really isn't anyone better who can play Wade and Logan. Emma Corrin as Cassandra Nova, she killed it in the role. Easily one of the best villains in quite a while in the MCU. The visual effects were great, and I think because this was the only movie that Marvel Studios released in 2024, like, gave them more time to focus on the visual effects in that movie. And I really don't think there really was, like, one bad visual effects. Like, maybe the part where we see Cassandra Nova, like, enter the mind of, Paradox. I think that scene was a bit, like, only a tiny bit wonky. But other than that, literally everything was great. And I can see this movie getting nominated for Best Visual Effects. And I do hope it gets more nominations, but then again, we are getting, we are running out of, award shows that have nominations to announce, so... But yeah, this was hilarious, like, easily one of the best, experiences I've had in cinemas, because it's very rare for, like, people where I live to actually laugh in the cinema, but, like, the room was packed, and, like, over half the people, they were, like, barely laughing, and that was just great to see. It reminded me of America, it did. I've not been there since 2019, and it just reminded me so much of that experience, like people laughing and also clapping at the end. They did, but oh, this was just so good. The song choices in this movie were genius. There really was not one bad song choice, I will admit. Yeah. Number two, The Holdovers. This was one of the first movies that I watched in 2024, and oh, this is just such a classic. This is just such a classic. Um, Divine Joy Randolph deserved the Oscar nomination. Um, there really was not a bad actor in this movie. This I'm not going to say this is a tough watch, but it is like a very emotional driven movie. Um, how they filmed it, um, I think it did work well. Um, like this was just such a great movie. Um, I will easily be watching this movie like every Christmas, or well, yeah, every Christmas, like from now on, within the month of December. But like I didn't really have any intentions on watching this movie. Like I only knew of this movie because of like nominations it was getting, and I was actually familiar with Divine Joy Randolph, with her work on Only Murders in the Building, a brilliant series. Please watch that series; you will love it. But The Holdovers is just amazing. Paul Giamatti, um, he was just amazing. I wished. Well, who won the Oscar? Who was it? Um, who was it? Cillian Murphy. Um, Between him and Cillian Murphy, there really wasn't anyone else in the categories who had a chance of winning. Like, and I didn't really mind Cillian Murphy winning. Like, no, winning, because obviously Oppenheimer. Who hasn't watched Oppenheimer? But there really wasn't any other competition to him other than Paul Giamatti. Um, and I had no problems with him either winning or losing. But everyone in this movie was just amazing. Like literally, this was just so good. Yeah. So before I get to my number one movie of 2024, I have a couple of honorable mentions that I want to just mention. I'm not going to go into detail, but I just want to mention them. Some of them might surprise you, but this is just my opinion. How many do I have? I have one, two, three, four. I have 6 honorable mentions, and this is actually in release order, so there is sort of like an order for this. So, yeah, my honorable mentions of 2024 are Mean Girls, The Color Purple. That movie was released last year in the UK. I know it came out in 2023, but yeah. So, yeah. The Mean Girls, The Color Purple, Argyle, Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, Transformers 1, and Paddington in Peru. I think Paddington in Peru, that. Um, I was this close to actually having Paddington in Peru on my top 10 list, but I just really couldn't see a place where that could have landed. But yeah, those are my honorable mentions of 2024. I don't think there really was like another movie that I can really see that had a chance of getting a mention. Yeah, right. So, what is my number one movie of 2024? Um, this movie was not on my most anticipated movies of 2024. Um, we all only found out about this movie, I think last year because the first trailer came out last year. Um, this movie has been everywhere. it did really good at the box office. Nothing extraordinary, but it did really good, and it has been getting a lot of nominations, and it is animated. And I'm of course talking about The Wild Robot. I cannot recommend this movie enough. Oh, this movie is just so good. This might actually be DreamWorks' best movie they have ever done, and I'm just hoping this movie wins Best Animated Feature. I hope that we can finally see the day that DreamWorks finally wins an Oscar. Like, they have not technically, they have not won an Oscar since 2006 with Wallace and Gromit, Curse of the Were-Rabbit. Yes, that is an Aardman movie, but that is also a collaboration with DreamWorks. But if we're like being like 100% DreamWorks, they have not won an Oscar since 2002 with Shrek. And that was the first time ever that the Oscars introduced Best Animated Feature, and Shrek was the first ever animated movie to win the award. And it's been over 20 years. It has been over 20 years since DreamWorks, like themselves, 100% DreamWorks has won an Oscar. And I'm sorry, if The Wild Robot does not win, I am gonna rant. Alright, I'm gonna rant. I'm gonna have like rant videos. Like, I'm sorry, if we see, well, if Wallace and Gromit Vengeance Most Foul wins over The Wild Robot, like, I will have preferred it to be The Wild Robot. And stop motion, it has won Oscars before. I believe the last time it won the award, Best Animated Feature, was back in 2023 for Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. But if also Inside Out 2 wins, like, don't get me wrong, that is a great movie, but it's Pixar. Like, Oscars just have the tendency to keep giving the awards, Best Animated Feature, to Pixar and Disney. If they nominate Moana 2 for an Oscar, expect a video for that, because they are making a mistake. But The Wild Robot, this has to be the best chance ever that DreamWorks has of winning Best Animated Feature. If this wins more, even better, because this movie is practically a perfect animated movie. The animation, jaw-dropping. The voice acting from everyone was just spot on. Lupita Nyong'o as Roz, standout, and also the lead. Literally, if you have not watched The Wild Robot, I'm sorry, what have you been doing? Go to the cinema, or at the very least, buy it on, like, streaming, purchasing services, whatever. Do not pirate the movie. Don't be a knob. I'm sorry, just sorry for the language, but just do not, please, give money to the movie industry in some shape or form. But please, just watch The Wild Robot. I think this might be the biggest surprise of the year. Did DreamWorks release anything earlier this year? They released Orion and the Dark on Netflix, and that was a pretty good movie. If it was released in the cinema, I don't think it would have done well. They also released Kung Fu Panda 4, and my opinion on that movie has changed a lot. Yeah, it's not a good movie. If we get a fifth one, I want the Furious 5. Alright? I want the Furious 5 in it. I do not want the same routes that they have gone for with number 4. But The Wild Robot, this might be my favourite DreamWorks movie of all time. And yeah, like, this is also an emotional movie, and it did make me cry. I think I've only watched this, I've definitely watched this once in the cinema. I cannot remember if I've watched this twice. If I haven't, and if they're still showing, I'm going to watch it. I have tomorrow off, so I'm gonna try and watch that. And if they have Wicked on as well, I'm gonna try and watch that as well. Because there really isn't anything coming out this month in the cinema that's actually worth watching. Like, if I'm looking at memories, like, if I'm. There isn't like any big major releases now till February, so I don't think there really will be a movie review coming out this month. But yeah, The Wild Robot, there really isn't another movie that I can think of is more deserving of being the number one best movie of 2024. And yeah, again, just watch The Wild Robot. And yeah, I think with all of that out of the way, that was my top 10 movies of 2024. What will 2025 hold? I did release my top 10 most anticipated movies of 2025, so I will link that in the description down below. So go watch that. But will we get better quality movies than the ones that I've watched, or at least the ones in my top 10? It remains to be seen. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, you know what to do. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I will see you on the next legendary video. I don't think I said that in quite a while. I need to use that again. Alright, see ya.